Bulls, both hands. Get in there into the Chex Bowl mix of podcasting.
Yep.
And just,
content. Behold the content. Behold it.
Behold content.
All right. Well, let's do it here. We're off to the races in 3, 2, 1.
Now that I've got your attention, stop sneering! I could stay here all night until I find out which one of you once did it!
Worms, the computer game.
Oh boy.
The computer game, Scott.
There's no more computer games. That's the last one. No more computer games.
Nope.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Play Retro, and welcome to our last episode of the Christmas season. That means December soon ends. And
just one more after this one.
Yep.
And then we're back probably to the arcade, the Nintendo, Sega, all the things.
It'll
PS1,
all work out.
All the stuff.
It'll all work out. Look, I'm one of your hosts, Scott Johnson, and I played a whole bunch of Worms this week. That's all I have to say. Now it's your turn, Brian.
I was curious. I was looking at your intro, and I was like, and it looks like it's going to be a short one. And I'm your other host, Brian Dunaway, and I'm just a wormy little pink dude just trying to launch concrete sheep and holy hand grenades upon my cute little cartoony foes. Take that, CPW Worm 1 on Team Stupid CPU with love from Team Humans Rule.
Yeah, baby.
Because you get to name your own things in Worms.
That's right. Well, the best Worms games let you. Some of them didn't, and those were mistakes. They shouldn't do that.
Those weren't real Worms games.
You got to let us have some hackery going on in there.
We're just talking about the ones from the 90s, though, right? I mean, we can't do all 30 versions of the freaking Worms, right?
No, we can't. But I did play the Dreamcast version of Worms this week for fun, and I also played the Game Boy Color version of Worms this week. So
the Armageddon was on the Dreamcast, so that fits into our 90s.
They may have just called it that. It may have just been Armageddon on there. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think because I think there's only one Worms game released for the Dreamcast, so that's probably it.
But we're gonna focus mostly on Worms from 1995, Worms 2 from 97, and Armageddon from 99. All the 2000 stuff. There's some interesting entries in there, and I think the best game they've ever done is probably the latest one from 2016, the WMD one. Very good game. Been playing that as well this week. I've been playing a lot of Worms because it turns out we're covering one of my favorite, if not my favorite, tactical turn-based game ever. I love it.
Yeah, and we've been saving this for a special episode, and why not the week before Christmas give ourselves a big old Christmas gift of being able to play Worms?
Why not us? And if not us, who? And if not
now, what are we even doing?
What are we even doing? Anyway, we hope you're all having a nice Christmas holiday. I'm going to mention one thing before we get going here, and that is my efforts to put a custom firmware on my Ambernick RG40H, XXH rather. Successful. I ended up putting it on MUOS or MUOS, however people say it. And I did it with the help of some other Discord people. They were very nice and helped me with a couple of issues I had. Here's the problem that I have with this. It's
with the OS or with the device.
The device.
Or the combination of the two?
The OS is fine. No issues with the OS.
Right.
In fact, I really like MUOS. It's super easy to use. Really kind of low rent. It doesn't need tons of resources. It's great. No big issues there. My biggest problem is Ambernick advertises this device, along with a few others, as being capable. And when I read capable, that tells me that it will run Dreamcast games, or up to Dreamcast level, roughly. PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube, that kind of thing. Here's the problem. It doesn't really. The performance on those games really, really hit and miss. There's a couple of them. I think like Crazy Taxi 1 is okay. But most of the games from Soul Calibur and then up, and they get worse the newer the game got. For example, I'm trying to play 2K, NFL 2K, which is one of my favorite football games of all time. Came out on that thing, started a whole new series of football games before EA shut down the whole ability for anyone else to do it. But it was an amazing new series, and I love the 2K series, so I was really excited to play it. There are no settings, no options, nothing to make that a good, smooth experience on here, no matter what core I'm using, it doesn't matter if I'm just running it raw with the emulator itself and doing it raw without any interface stuff. Doesn't matter what CPU options I use inside of the settings. It just is choppy. The audio's choppy. The video's choppy. It just doesn't perform very well with Dreamcast, which bums me out because they say on there, this now explains why there are only like 4 Dreamcast games in the default build, because those 4 run fine, but nothing else seems to. So I'm annoyed by that because I wanted to play that game so bad, and now I'm not. But it's okay. I got other options. I will say this though: I've yet to throw a PlayStation game at it that it can't just play beautifully from top to bottom. So PS1 no issues, PSP no issues. You'd think PSP would struggle, but it doesn't. It's fine. What else? What else? What other heavy lift? I'm having some issues with Dolphin, but everyone does these days. Dolphin's being elusive and strange, and I have a feeling it's because Nintendo's being elusive and strange. And everybody's like, I'm going to take that core out of there and not put it in.
Maybe
sort of stuff.
want that on there.
But very, very happy with this overall, and just loving it. So high praise. I got me a half a terabyte of a space in there. I've loaded. Oh, I can't. Oh, the other thing I haven't done is because I just haven't gone through the hoops to figure out why my configuration's wrong. But I can't get Saturn stuff to run. I know it will. I just.
Oh, yes, Saturn's a tough one. Yeah, if you're not having luck with Dreamcast, then Saturn's also going to be a tough one, probably. You know, the Crazy Taxi and stuff was early in the life cycle, but it was also heavily optimized to run really well on the Dreamcast, right? So when you start getting into those later games, you know, you're probably going to start running into those bottlenecks.
Yeah, and that same game, same core, same everything runs 0 issues on a Steam Deck because you got more power in the Steam Deck, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, just if any of you were inspired to grab one of these, just know you're kind of everything up to PlayStation is where your happy spot's going to be.
Yeah,
and that all is great. I haven't had I've thrown all sorts of PlayStation games at this thing. Nothing's bogging it down. Nothing's an issue. It's all good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, and for the most part, you're gonna have to spend more than $200 to really start getting into like all of the N64 games, the GameCubes. If you're wanting to do the PS2 and that stuff, you're probably gonna spend a little more money. At which time, I'm just probably gonna just go, just get a Steam Deck.
Because then you have the added advantage of all the Steam Deck stuff. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, before then, but like where Eminent really shines is that the $50 to $150 range, and it covers most of them, and you get a little enjoyment out of the Dreamcast games, like you had said, but you're kind of pushing your luck there. That's kind of at the edge of what is capable.
Yeah, but everything else, smooth as pie. Yeah. I will say this. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole just trying to find some of my favorite old sports games for whatever reason, just got in the mood. And FIFA 98 is an amazing game. One of the best soccer games ever made. It is really awesome on Genesis. It is terrible on Super Nintendo. It was one of those deals where Genesis would shine with speed and sort of tight gameplay, right?
Right.
They just did better with that stuff. And Nintendo's had really deep depth library and everything. But when it came to some of those shared titles, like some of the EA titles or the sports titles, they just don't hold up. Like NHL 94, we've talked about this before, but NHL 94 on a Genesis is vastly superior to the Nintendo one. The Nintendo one is slow and sluggish and choppy, and the frame rate kind of sucks. Same thing is true of the FIFA titles and stuff like that. So I was going back and forth, just kind of figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like, that sort of thing. I'd forgotten how much fun Game Day and Face Off.
I haven't played that one oh my gosh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, NFL Game Day, which was it was Sony's own studio. That was their attempt to make sports titles.
Right.
They kind of quit doing that. But anyway, Game Day was their football game. Their hockey game was Face Off. Or was it Face Off?
Face Off.
NHL Face Off. I think that's right.
Face
Off. Oh, Face Off. Eat a peach for hours. Those both are great. Fantastic entries in those in the PS1 sports arena, but I'm going to tell you guys all right now, pound for pound, minute for minute, the best time you're going to have with a pseudo retro early 3D title is freaking NFL Blitz. The OG so one, not 2000, not the other ones where they tweaked it out or tried to add more, get it, whatever. Just the straight up port to PlayStation 1. One of the best ports ever, one of the greatest sports games of all time. You don't even, you get into a game, they don't even bother letting you kick off. They just kick off. and you receive it, and then you run and you tackle and you fight. It's great. Freaking
receive my ball.
I missed that midway era of amazing extreme sports games. They were so good. NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, NHL Hits for the GameCube. Still one of the greatest hockey games of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish they were back to that. I wish they could do that again. It's so good.
They could do it again. They just don't want to.
Yeah. I'm not even that big of a sports fan, but I do like sports video games a lot. So.
Yeah, I love me some sports video games. It's different. It's oh hey, I'm playing this and I'm in control.
Yep.
Kind of. The better I get.
Kind of, sort of.
I don't have to. Yeah, sort of, kind of. Yeah, and it's much faster.
Yeah. Oh, one quick note for those who have in the past, I didn't like MooOS because it didn't have a search function. That's now in the base software. It works great. The latest version. I think it's called Super Banana. Yeah.
Oh, but we're going to talk about Super Bananas this week too.
Yeah. Oh, we definitely are. That's true.
Banana bombs.
Banana bomb. Brian, tell me what you got up to in the retro world since we last spoke.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So what I've been doing this past week, I went deeper into my Commodore 16 that we had talked about, and I've been having trouble getting it to function. It's mostly just displaying black kind of wavy bars on the screen, and I've been probing it with my oscilloscope, and I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. So as a first step, I took a look around just to see what chips could be causing the problem, and one of them was what's called the TED chip, which is I believe the video and sound chip in the Commodore 16. They kind of combined it. Instead of having the SID and the VIC-2 processor like in the Commodore 64, chips they had the TED chip, and apparently this one causes a lot of problems. It usually goes bad. Saw someone locally just up the road had one for sale, and it was cheaper than all of the rest. So I said, I'm ordering myself a TED chip. So that's what I got myself in.
Nice.
I got myself a nice little rectangular TED chip. Remember these things?
Get that up in the camera here. I want to see that thing close.
Yeah, let me see it. Let me see how close I can get here before my camera starts going all wonky. I need a good light on that. It's so small and dark, and you can barely see the Moz on there.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to see a real one, you probably can just go to the link that I posted on the Discord server, which is for what Captain Kipper, one of our community members, he posted a huge Flickr post a while back where he took all of his processors he's had in storage, and he took pictures of them. And oh my God, he's got them all. He's got them all.
Look at this one, the MC68 Boop.
So
look at the Boop. That's
he's
cool.
got 8088s, he's got 8080s, he's got 8000s. These are all Intel chips. He's got, I think he's got a 60. Does he have a 65? Most of them are of course, the square chips and not the.
Yeah, if you scroll down, you'll see them. Like this Boop one, you can see on my Zoom screen right now.
Yes,
this R7 Motorola R7 E8416.
Oh yeah,
look at that.
Boy,
thing.
if you're not a CPU nerd, you need to be. Oh, there's a Z80. So
yep,
a lot
Z80.
of you guys know about your ZXs. Got a Z80. Got a Moztec in there.
Mm-hmm.
He just has so many. And you know my favorite part is, Scott?
I had this chip right here.
Everybody had the i4886, the i486 SX.
Yep.
It was right on the front of my Gateway 2000 PC, which was one of my first Intel based PCs.
Yep.
And man, yeah, we'll post a link somewhere where you guys can get to it.
I had this Intel Pentium 100 right here. I played Quake on that chip. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Our love for our processors. There's a 486DX in there.
Oh, the DX. So this is the AMD micro device, the AMD 386 DX40. I had that shit, dude.
Yeah. Which will it go? Will Intel win? Will AMD win? Who will win?
Yeah, they're all doing fine in the end.
Right. But that led me down even a bigger rabbit hole. And I was like, well, what was the first Intel processor? And went and looked at the 4004, and I'm like, holy shit, how did they do this? And that's when I started becoming, now people are being more and more conspiratorial about stuff. They're like, oh, there's a conspiracy. Well, I went and I looked at the Intel 4004 processor, like one of the first commercially available processors for the public. And they had a blow up of the actual circuitry inside of it from the late 60s. And I'm like, how the hell did they build this tiny microprocessor in the late 60s unless aliens? Damn it.
Yeah.
There are aliens. But of course that's not true. But still, it's just amazing that they could have made something that tiny all the way back to the late 60s. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah.
It's
wild. Watch
Captain
that
Kipper,
stuff.
thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thanks, man. I haven't been on Flickr in ages either, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, me either. When he sent it, I was like, Flickr.
Yeah. Apparently Flickr still a concern.
Gonna run over here to MySpace while I'm at it and make sure I still got that on lockdown.
Who owns all Flickr now? Isn't that it's not Microsoft.
It's still branded the same, so I don't know if I don't know.
Somebody like that owned somebody like not Microsoft. Somebody like that came in and swooped it up. Oh, somebody that's a
Justin Timberlake.
Awesome.co, whoever that is.
Okay, why not?
Sure.
Why not?
They own SmugMug, Flickr.
Oh.
And Flickr.org and This Week in Photo.
This Week in Photo.
Which I don't know if is that a show. Oh, it is a podcast.
I don't know. That sounds more like one of the thumbnail sites. Remember I used to go to thumbnail sites?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this isn't one of Leo's old shows, is it? I don't think so.
Sounds like it could be.
Well, anyway. Good stuff, everybody. Good stuff.
Oh, so good, dude. But yeah, if you haven't, I have been doing, thanks to Worms, which we're about to cover, I've fired back up all my, my deep passion for DOS and DOS 622, because that's where I was wanting to play this week.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I really went down the architecture to make sure I was getting the most authentic experience that I could, not confusing what I remembered from what it was real. And man, I've just this whole week it's been a combination of playing Worms and then going over here and learning everything about CPUs that I could. I got a long way to go, but it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, for me, going back to Worms and playing Worms again has been, I can't even describe how much of a treat this has been. Because it's not that I just forgot about Worms. Of course not. Like, there's still Worms games. There's probably some games still coming out. They had a failed kind of battle royale real-time thing about a year and a half ago that was not good. Yeah. But it's not like they've disappeared. So...
No, and they actually haven't all, because I asked you and I wasn't sure if you because I didn't know. So there's one called Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition that just came out in 2024.
Right.
And I was like, wait, did I know about this? I'm like, no, I don't think I did. Or did I? And then I was like, oh, they mostly only advertise this in the UK market.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really get much advertisements toward this. So apparently, I don't know if I just missed it or kind of just dismissed it, but Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition released earlier this year, and it's on all the consoles. No PC stuff, all consoles. It's on sale right now on the Nintendo Switch. As a matter of fact, there's a big Team17 sale going on, winter sale going on Steam, but you can't get it. The Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition, you got to get it on a console. So $16 will get you for it. I don't know. But it's got a whole bunch of museum and historical stuff, and I didn't discover this until the end of the week, so I didn't get a chance to really dig into it. But I'm planning on picking it up this weekend and continuing my my pursuit of the Worms that I got. I got Worms.
Yeah, I got Worms too. You guys want?
I got Worms.
You want to check me? You want to check me for Worms?
Check me for Worms. I'll check your poo. Isn't that how you do it?
That's how you do it. You check your poo. I got Worms pouring out of me.
Oh, now you've ruined Worms for me, because now all I can imagine is that procedurally generated terrain is dog poo.
Yeah.
And they're on the surface of it.
That's right.
Why would you do that to me, Scott?
Prepare yourselves for good times ahead. Well, we're going to talk about Worms. We're going to start with Worms 1, and I'm going to play a little audio from it. Check it out. Okay, now here's the thing about Worms 1. Worms 1 might at first glance throw people, because it does not look like the series would become. The worms looked a lot longer, actual worm shaped, I suppose, is one way of putting it. The pieces are here, right? Like some of the weapons, not all of them, but a lot of the weapons you would see throughout the series, including the bazooka. These games have always had the bazookas. Are here, the sort of 2D landscape stuff, but it really does show its scorched earth origin story here.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yes, because if you've never played Scorched Earth, it's very much like this, and it reminds you of Lemmings, because that was two of the inspirations that our game developer who was already developing this before he took it to Team17, Andy Davidson, was just a teenager, and he was making a game at school on his calculator. And it morphed into, over the years, as he continued to develop it, into what we know as Worms. It was released by Team 17, and it was definitely inspired. Matter of fact, for a while, the game that he was developing on the Amiga in between before he got it published everywhere else, it looked very much like Lemmings. As a matter of fact, he was putting in Lemmings before he decided on Worms.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me because the graphical treatment of these little worms and stuff, very much the kind of pixel art you expected from something like the Lemming series. Also another UK-based creation.
Yep. Yeah, this is by the way, Team 17, very much UK.
Oh, yeah.
And Andy, too.
Yeah. So the first game, here's the deal. I played a little bit of this week. I think the first game is great proof of concept. It is exactly what it would need to be for what it was at the time. But Worms 2 would pretty quickly turn right around and go, all right, let's refine everything. Let's make everything a unified graphic style, and pretty much stuck through the rest of the series, with one exception I'll get to later. But they very quickly left the foundation of what Worms 1 looked like and kind of became a thing that would be recognized as the Worms series. And now, as a result, they look totally different than this first game,
This week, I'll give you where I started at with Worms. I got Worms at Worms Armageddon, which is, if you're asking me, if you're going back and playing retro Worms, it's fine if you start there, unless you're just a retro historian like we are sometimes. And then maybe you want to go back to the first two. But really, everything you need in the gaming experience is refined and perfected by the time you get to Worms Armageddon. And I had never played Worms 1 or 2 or any of the things in between. And I fell in love with Worms 1. And it's almost unfair to compare the two because visually they're so different.
Oh, they're completely different. It's almost like they're different games.
It's almost like they're different games.
This feels like this is like a itch.io fan build of a game that's like Worms. That's what it reminds me of.
I actually think that it's the opposite for me, because I feel like we've gotten to a place where it's so easy just to put a cartoonified something, whereas the original felt like someone built it from each pixel, right? Mm-hmm. They built it in assembly, right? They assembled the damn thing. Mm-hmm. And you just don't get that anymore. Now you get nice, cartoony sprites, which is going to be much more appealing to people, especially at this point. This game came out in 1995. We already have the PlayStation 1 in Japan. So we're already heavy into shifting to 3D. And here is a 2D game that says we value a game depth more than visual 3D. And I think that's one of the reasons why it stood out.
Yeah.
Because everything else was kind of moving to more simplified gameplay, but more visually complex 3D.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the series would retain most of its 2D and then later 2.5D sort of roots, although in the Xbox original days, they had those 3D games, which I liked, but they didn't have the charm that these had. I just think that I'll just go ahead and mention it now. The latest game in the series, or the most recent that I've played anyway, is the 2016 WMD Worms game. Yeah. And it's the first time they really tweaked the art style to be a little different. Right. And I like it. I think it's a good move. Some people did not like it when it happened. I remember there was some complaining or whatever, but I think WMD, and the reviews reflect this, is just about as good a Worms game as you're ever going to play. Like, it is all the things they learned all these years over, and they added a bunch of vehicles like tanks and helicopters and shit, which sounds insane, but it actually works really well. It's really fun. I think that WMD for modern players who are like, well, what am I going to play right now? Like, I get that these are significant. I want to hear about the retro origins of all this stuff, but what should can I play something now, like on a Steam Deck or something that really reflects how far the series has come or whatever? WMD is awesome. Freaking play that. That game rules.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Unless like I said, I don't know much about the anniversary edition. I hate that I didn't really get my wormy grubs on it until the end of the week. I didn't get a chance to look at it. So maybe you can tell us what it's all about. But
I'm sure it's just Armageddon, widescrreen Armageddon. It's got to be, right?
That's absolutely the entry level for most people. But if you're a hardcore retro gamer, like I don't know if I'm hardcore at accuracy when it comes to retro gaming, and so I spend probably as much time setting up my environment as playing the games. It's probably going to be evident during this because I'm sure Scott plays so much Worms and so much better than me. I'm not good at these tactics games where you have to take turns to angle your shots on your different weapons. You have to know each weapon intimately to really land the shot. I'm not really great at that, but I like playing. And I like all the silly cartoony things they got going on.
Partly you're not meant to be great at it because they want the chaos. So the game is very good at straddling this balance of I need to understand how the banana works, but the banana also is chaos in a bucket. Like as soon as you throw that banana, you might get lucky and it'll land exactly the way you planned. You might get lucky. You might. Yeah. But there's also a very good chance that thing's going to bust in a weird way and send either a banana or two back toward you because you didn't read enough distance, or it's going to blow up one of your friends by accident, or sink a thing you needed, like a health kit or something.
Yeah, or like they have like a weapons drop, and of course you actually bank a grenade off something, and it pops back, and it like, oh no, now what am I going to do?
It's the fantastic part of the game. The unbridled chaos with combined with skill is not. We take it for granted. We just kind of go, well, yeah, that's how Worms plays. But I think it's actually hard as hell.
Yeah.
And I think that this kid at the time,
Andy,
is, just short of a genius when it comes to gameplay design, because it really straddles that hard, skill, luck, fun, frustration, all of those things. Like that's a hard, four-way quad to stand in and have it work as a video game. And somehow it does. And some of my favorite memories of sitting around a couch, whether it was like, I think the first console version I think I ever bought was a Saturn version of the game.
Right.
Then Dreamcast. I mean, I bought it for almost anything I owned. If Worms was on it, I got it. That was a deal for me.
Right.
So I am, 100% in their wheelhouse in terms of the fan base. I want every Worms game they make, and I think I own all of them. I can't think of one I don't own, except I don't have Worms 1 on anything that I can just put, play or whatever. But I had the Game Boy Color version of the game, GBA games. I had, I think the Genesis had one.
Oh.
I think. Yeah, I had that game. That's true. They did. I had that game. I may not have had the SNES game.
Right there.
Yeah, it was in there.
Mega Drive and the Genesis. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these things, PlayStation, all of it. I loved it. I played the PlayStation game this week because I was testing PlayStation on this Ambernick, and it runs beautifully. Right. No issues, no problems. The like I said, WMD, which is what I have on Steam right now, is easily. So that's what was fun about this experiment, because I get to play all of these, including Armageddon, which most people say is the peak of the series. WMD is basically Armageddon. It's Armageddon. 2. There you go. And it's not a dip, and it continues, and it's as awesome as that was, plus some new awesome stuff. Like it gets slept on a little because I don't know. It's the year's 2016 and now 2024. Nobody's thinking about Worms games like they used to.
Yeah,
but you missed out if you didn't get that one.
And this was a time when we were just starting to get to a place in video gaming that we were wanting large groups of griefing. So, like, one of the fun things about games is being able to really, crap on your friend on the couch, right? We did that for years, just 2 players mostly. Then they started expanding it, and it's fun to do that, to take turns, get in the hot seat.
Yep.
And this game, to me, probably helped push how fun it can be to grief your opponent, because one of the things that you're doing in Worms is you're trying first not to die, but you're also trying to do things that will hopefully intentionally frustrate your opponent, not just defeat them, but to grief them, right?
Oh,
it's like, okay, I want the other person on the other side to be almost furious at me, right? Yeah. And so we're going to see a lot more of this start happening as we get into first-person shooters, especially when Quake comes out the following year. Yeah. And it's already around a little bit, but I think this really, if you like that kind of gameplay, you recognized it immediately in Worms, and it was probably your favorite game.
Here's the part I don't remember for sure. I'm pretty sure this was true, but I think Armageddon introduced IP to IP play. It wasn't super fancy. Didn't have like fancy lobbies and all that stuff. In fact, it may have been a game you could play on GameSpy along with everything else. I can't remember, but I remember the first time I had online play with Armageddon, And I thought I would never go back to doing anything else with my life. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I had so much fun doing that and got good at it, and, you know, would actually kind of walk away with more wins than losses. And it was like, you know, a real boost to my ego.
And you may have heard of WormNet. So in Worms 2, that was for online play. And you could do all of that. That was 97, I believe. So like right before Armageddon. So they was definitely heading in that direction. Andy and Team 17 recognized that was a shining star of Worms game, was this community play. And it's a pretty large community, because when you play in Worms, you pick teams and they're 4 players. This has changed over time, but for the most part, you have 4 worms on each team. And I think you have up to 4 teams. So you can have up to 16 worms on a screen. I'm sure that was probably originally determined because it was like, okay, we only can have 16 sprites on an Amiga.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going with.
Yeah.
But they carved that up nicely. And that adds a good bit of variety and fun. And since it's turn-based, it makes the gameplays last a really long time, because by the time I got good at the bazooka, I'd been playing for an hour, because I'd only got to shoot like a handful of times, and trying to figure out exactly what I was doing, how the environment works. And since it's procedurally generated, over 4 billion, I think, in the first one, over 4 billion potential seeds that could populate the terrain. And I think there's only like 6 or 7 actual environments that are in the background with the objects and stuff that you would have.
Oh,
like,
you'd never
if you're
see
in
another
space.
screen the same. That's what.
Right.
That's the other thing I loved about it, is it was never the same game. It was always a new tactic. You didn't just go, well, I memorized this map, I guess I'll just lay waste to everybody. It didn't work that way.
No,
No.
because
that.
and you never know. You might not even know where you're at, because your worms don't like fall down in like nice orderly fashion. You may be, one of your worms may generate right in between like the other team. There may be like 4 other players right, and that causes a problem, because you got to be able to move out of that area before you destruct, because almost everything, all the terrain is destructible, and including you. And if you go by the default, I think it's 100 health points per worm.
Usually, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can adjust that too, I believe, even in the first one.
It depends on the campaign stuff. I think Armageddon maybe introduced more of that, but basically, you could. I don't know if you could slide the difficulty, but you would often have more health than the minions on the map when you're doing a single player game. In the multiplayer game, I think 100 is the default. You can pump it up to everybody being 150. Plus, you can stack armor or stack health points by getting a health pack. It doesn't just heal missing health; it stacks on top of existing health. So if you had 100 and you got a 25-point health pack, you'd be 125 from then forward. So it was it's all moot if your worm is done shot his shot and he's standing on the edge of some terrain next to some water. It doesn't matter what your health is if somebody comes in and prods you right off the edge. Oh, it's amazing. It's the most trolly ass FU game, because there'll be times where you're like, you're never going to get me over here. I'm way over here.
Yeah, screw you, hit people. I teleported in, prod.
Yeah, poke. It's literally a finger poke, and you're in the drink. And the drink, you do not live in the drink. You die in the drink.
Nope. If you fall off the screen, or if you go into the drink, you're dead. That worm is out. You got 3 more possibly, but you're in trouble.
But then you think you're hot shit, and you go back to thinking you're being all tactical, and you're moving around, and then suddenly you'll realize, oh shoot, I did a backflip, but I missed my landing and I dropped another 40 feet, and it killed your turn and hurt you. Yeah. And you're just like, dang it, it's my one chance. And now you're in a pit, and all it takes is for a decent shot opponent to lob a grenade in there, and now you're going to eat that. It's some of the most frustrating fun is hard to do without pissing people off. Right?
Yeah.
This game had a way of getting right up to the edge of making you want to kill the guy you're fighting. But then you pull back and everyone's laughing, and it's a good time.
And that's one of the things that Team 17 and Andy, they specifically saw all the formula was there from the very beginning. And Andy knew that one of the things that he introduced into it was these silly worms voices that kind of lightened it, right? Like when you're playing a first-person shooter, it's serious all the freaking time, and you're just angry, and you can walk away mad. But if someone destroys you in Worms, you can't be too mad, because there's a worm over there saying, "Oh no, I'm dead." It's just this silly the overtone that keeps jerking you back and making you realize, okay, this is just a game. I'm having fun, and it keeps. And I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like it
as opposed
a great
to this
deal.
anger that happens in first-person shooters.
Yeah, I like it a lot too, and I think that it's significant that the first game in '95, coming from these humble roots and everything, ended up in so many places: Amiga, MS-DOS, PlayStation, Saturn, SNES, Mega Drive, Genesis, like across the board, and it would keep doing it. Second game, funny enough, was just Windows PC, but by then you kind of had a consolidation of everybody's using Windows. Like that just became the standard in a very short couple of years.
Right.
I feels like Windows 95 and forward just really was a sea change in what was coming. But
right. When I was setting up in my environment, to kind of fall back that again for a second, I set up just DOS 622, and I actually installed Windows 3.1 because it just felt so lonely. Why does DOS 6.2 feel so lonely?
Oh, it's so lonely
if
and
it
empty.
doesn't have a Win 3. I don't know why, because I hate Win 3.1. But anyway,
I'm
I
with
set
you
that
though.
up because
It's like a soul without a body, you know?
it really is.
Yeah.
And after that, of course, we move into Windows 95, and we have built-in DOS 7 and everything. But anyway, this was the last available DOS that was a standalone.
Yeah.
And so I set my environment up. I got everything good to go. I played my MS-DOS version of Worms, even though it was created on the Amiga. And we'll talk about Andy just in a minute and his obsession with the Amiga. It's a really good story. But I got my CD driver set up, and I got my CD in there because you know why? Because I had to set up that way. That was the second release, the Worms on CD, which was the original, but it had it was called Worms United, and it was kind of an in between Worms 1 and Worms 2. It had added some content, and I couldn't run the first one, the original, because it came on 3 floppy disks for the MS-DOS, and there was a book that came with it. It was a code book. And it had like just chapters of these grids where you had to line up, a row and a column and get a 3-digit number and then put it into the game so you could play it.
Yeah.
And that thing is nowhere to be found, even though Team17 has given so much stuff away. The only thing I could find was the CD version. I guess everybody's just like, yeah, the CD version is better anyway. Why would you want to play the original? Because like, I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see how frustrating it was to load up on 3 floppy disk and see how much different it was, because I'm sure 3 floppy disk is far from the 300 some odd megabytes, right? Because what is that, like, 1.4, 3 floppy disk? That's nowhere near the same math. That means they took out a whole bunch of shit, right? I'm sure there's not nearly as much audio, maybe not nearly as many maps, but ended up playing the demo version of that, the prototype. And I kind of got the idea. I was like, oh yeah, this does suck. So I'm going to get the CD.
Yeah.
I played the crap out of it from that point.
Did the first game have wind control in the game? I can't remember if it did.
Yeah, it's all, as far as I can tell, every version of this, except maybe for the TI 80, what are those calculators? The TI calculators, the programmable calculators.
Where he first,
because
was
it really
making
started there.
Yeah.
He started programming it there, then he ported it over to the Amiga, and he had an obsession with the Amiga. As a matter of fact, when Worms 2 was being developed, he wasn't working as close as he probably should have been at all in some cases, because he was going back to the Amiga trying to perfect it. Eventually, Team17 had to tell him to stop because he felt like the Amiga game just wasn't right. And Amiga was at the very end of its life cycle, right? It didn't make business sense to keep developing it, but he felt like he needed to complete it. Whatever that meant in a programmer's mind, right?
Sure, that makes sense though, right?
Things.
He wants to see it through, and he loves the platform. I get it, totally. Get it.
Yeah. But but if you watch some interviews and stuff, some stories, the documentaries about it, it's a lot of fun. They don't talk much about the actual gameplay because the gameplay pretty much stays the same throughout all the series. Just a little style changes here.
Yeah, once you understand that it's a there's a little bit of physics. And you're lobbing things, and wind resistance has effect on things, and some weapons, have like clusters built into them and make a big mess. Some of them are much more, simple. Some are air raids. Like once you understand all these things that kind of work in this flat world of procedural generation, the whole series is pretty much that from then on. Like it never really changes that much. you know.
No, pick your favorite style. The reason why I like Armageddon so much is because unlike Worms 2, okay, so if I was playing Worms, I would play the first one because it is so different. You probably would like that visual experience. It's just so different. And then I would probably just skip Worms 2. And the reason why is because of the platform. It was made and developed for the Windows PC, and there's nothing really wrong with it. It actually introduces a lot of really cool shit. That was actually thought up in the Amiga director's cut, and they kind of poured a lot of stuff over. So, but the Windows itself, it has to keep relaunching itself because this is Windows 95, and it has to keep, it'll show a window, there'll be a video, and then it has to close down, and then it'll bring up another window, and it'll have like an interface for, setting up. You can edit terrains, you can, create your own stuff if you would like to. And you just a lot of customization, but it's just so fractured that it's just not, in my opinion, is good of experience. You might as well just skip it. I mean, unless you're just a glutton for punishment, unless you just want to have a holy hand grenade to blow up in your face. I suppose you could. If you like that,
I love that weapon.
Maybe if you like messing around with some Windows WinSock, so you can hook up through IP. Maybe something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Just play Armageddon. Armageddon is the culmination of all the best ideas. Everything came together in Armageddon in a pretty special way. And the reason I like Armageddon the most probably is better integration of online play. But the main reason was all the weapons leading up to that point were included, plus a bunch of new ones. Crazy new stuff, like a flying sheep that was basically a bomb.
A
weird
big giant bomb at that.
Yeah, big bomb. There's like weird shit in there. And I love games like
what about the concrete donkey? You like the
I like the donkey.
The concrete donkey.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like being able to throw that holy hand grenade and have the music go hallelujah, and then have the explode and just destroy fools. Like there's no better feeling than all of that.
Such great English humor, right? I
yeah,
love it.
And really good customization options in Armageddon, to the point that you mentioned this earlier, but you can make your own voice packs, and we would do this in this office I was in. We had these raunchy, cussy little guys, made our own stuff, recorded them on these crappy mics. They're like, F you, buddy, and like this sort of thing. And would apply these to these worms. You could call them anything you wanted. Like just a fairly unprecedented level of control over those aspects of a game for a game like that at that time.
Even at the early, even in the DOS version, that stuff was there where you could edit your freaking sound packs and stuff. I love that part.
Yeah, it's great. Customization, man. That's what players want. And the game let you do that. Let you do that to a crazy level. You could create a bunch of custom teams, naming them after all your friends. I remember I had a whole team that were just Star Wars characters, because why not?
Yeah.
And then I added some cool Sith sounding voices to everybody and that sort of thing. So you have a lot of options, a lot of stuff. See, this guy just killed himself with a freaking grenade, and now he is going to die. But guess what? He's going to hurt this green guy in the process. Bam! Now that green guy's hurt. Oh, there were two of them? They're both dead. So that guy sacrificed his life. That worm died so that others may die. And that's what happened.
Sometimes that's the strategy. You start with 4 worms. You got to defeat all of the worms have to be cleared, and you have to survive for it to end.
Freaking fantastic.
So that's how you win.
Yep.
And unless you go into sudden death, which I like, it knocks all your characters down to just 1 health.
Yep.
If you've had enough, if it's been too much of a stalemate kind of thing going on, or if I think you can set towards the game limit and stuff too. But man, now the concrete donkey was an interesting story. That was actually from childhood drama and was introduced into the director's cut on the Amiga from Worms, and it kind of made it through the series after that. Essentially, Andy, the creator, wanted to put it in there, Andy Davidson, because when he was growing up, they had a concrete donkey they put out during Christmas, and his family had convinced him that there was a real donkey inside. So it was trauma time for him, and he wanted to share that with the world. So
this video I'm showing right now, you can't see it at home, but this is the donkey.
There
coming.
It is. Yeah.
And it just bounces and explodes until it exits the terrain, and it kills everything in its path.
It kills it all.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. This guy named look at all his Star Wars characters. That's funny.
Yeah, I named I like doing mine as stupid computer and humans with a Z or something, and that's what brings me joy. Also, I didn't dig too deep but there are a lot of like little Easter eggy kind of things, but I don't know if it's really Easter eggs, but more like ways you can manipulate what's going on. Even in the first one, during the generation
Mm-hmm.
of the field of play,
Yeah.
everything is kind of grayed out for a second, and there's a countdown. If you hit the space bar during that time on the DOS version, at least, you can then type in a seed to generate the map. And if you know some seeds, like some that I just guessed, I didn't look them up. I was like, well, I bet they have a Team 17.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, when you type in Team 17 as the seed, it will then bring up a nice big Team 17 logo that your worms are all populated on, and all still destructible, and it plays just like a regular level. And it's pretty cool. And there's one called Space, and that is for the people who are seriously all about it. Wherever the team lead starts out on like a crescent moon, and everybody else is on stars. And I was so frustrated by that because it was so difficult to destroy everybody because nobody could move.
Yeah.
They couldn't move from their position. So the only way to clear the whole screen was to, just to hit them where they was at. Nobody could move. Nobody could do anything. And the computer was having trouble with that. Usually
Yeah.
the computer was kicking my ass, but for some reason, with it just being stars out there, Starfield, it was having big trouble.
Yeah.
Big trouble.
Yeah.
I had to call that a draw.
There, yeah, you gotta have some teleporters or something to get out of some of those situations. And the game, thankfully, gives you lots of tools, but you got to be smart about when you use them and how to use them, or you're gonna get screwed. I think I honestly, Armageddon at this stage is kind of the GOAT, and I'll say WMD is
not the concrete donkey, but the GOAT. Right?
Yeah, the GOAT, the concrete GOAT.
Right.
I would say, though, I would make the argument that WMD picked up right where it left off and made it even better. So do not get hung up on the idea that you have to, the only good one out there to spend your time with is this one. I think WMD is actually the better game, but you can't have it without. I mean, WMD doesn't exist without Armageddon. So,
right.
And there's lots of stuff in between that isn't so good. They made a game called.
They made so many Worms games. Team 17 is not like some kind of I love Team 17. It's one of my favorite publishing, developing arms ever. They've been super kind to me over the years whenever I've asked for any help, or if I said, hey, I see I got a new game coming out. Can I get a copy of that to try out and talk about? And they go, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And but man, they recognize they gotta keep the lights on.
Yeah,
and every chance they got, they was cranking out a Worms game.
I don't remember the year, but Worms World Party tried to bring it all back. It just wasn't as good.
I think that was or 2000. That's when we started getting into the 2000s, and that's where Andy Davidson, he's still involved, but not like he was until this point. This was up until through the 90s. It was kind of he was pretty much pivotal to everything. And he just kind of backed up a little bit, and it kind of showed, because there's something that a creator can bring to something that is such a single vision that it's fine when other people have a vision on it, but sometimes they may not get the vision, and it just may not work.
Yeah. One of the things I like about this is that Worms Armageddon was originally supposed to be, I think we may have mentioned this already to some degree, but it was supposed to be an expansion to 2. And it reminds me of Unreal Tournament or something, whereas originally Unreal Tournament was supposed to be an expansion to Unreal.
Every release of Worms, I think it's not just the creator Andy Davidson who gets involved with this. This game has so many moving parts that everybody who plays it or gets involved in the development part gets obsessed. And each one of these things that you talk about, every Worms game that comes along was started as an expansion, and it outgrew it, and it ended up needing to be its own thing.
Yep.
It's just and
something
about it.
It is something.
It's got magic.
It's very weird. What you're looking at now, you can't see this at home, so I'll describe it. This is Worms 3D. I remember being so excited about this because basically they were going to turn the Worms world into a 3D world. Still kind of these just narrow strips of land, but they put you on the ground, and your dude's right. I mean, look at him. He's you go into first person mode. There's a tactical mode. There's all these different ways to kill stuff. In theory, this is an amazing idea. In practice, it didn't quite hold up. I had a good time with it. I'm not going to lie. I had a great time with it, actually. But it's not. This isn't Worms. This is something else.
No, it's much easier to plot on a 2D surface than a 3D surface, right? So I mean, if you've only got whenever you're trying to shoot in 3D, it becomes infinitely more difficult
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to plot. And that's the thing made on a freaking calculator, because that's what those little calculators love to do. Plot. You
Yeah.
want to plot something? Let's plot it.
Yep.
I do calculations.
Do some plotting.
2D.
Yeah. Do some plotting.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Do some plotting, baby.
They also then did one called Worms Fort Under Siege in 04. This was a Worms 3D, but taken a little bit further. Same with Worms 4 Mayhem in 2005. It was like Worms 3D, but just more. Worms Open Warfare in 06 was kind of back to the OG, way of doing it. But it got rid of online multiplayer, which is insane to me that you would take that out. That's insane for a Worms game. At this stage,
it really,
in 2005,
really
2005, 06, what are you doing?
Right.
Leave
in
it
the
in.
beginning,
Yeah.
this game didn't really have like a campaign mode. And then by the time we got to Armageddon, it's like, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's have all the things that people want. And why we'd ever take any of that stuff out, I just don't know. Because it's not like at that point in time, it wasn't like the early days of adding in network connectivity.
Mhm.
You didn't have to write something.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, you plug that into the game engine, whatever game engine you have, you just kind of plug it in and you put worms on top of it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a totally different idea than it was in the beginning. So I don't know why they would do that.
It's very weird. It's very weird.
I don't know.
They did some other stuff, some other releases, but eventually got to something called Worms Reloaded in 2010.
I like that one. Okay.
It's actually a port of Worms 2 Armageddon for PC, so console players were basically just getting that. It's fine. It's all right.
It's fine. I liked it.
Worms Battle Islands came after that.
I have no idea about that one. I didn't, nothing.
That was
Zero.
that was
As a matter of fact, you just saying that is the first time I think I've either heard or read.
That is a Wii.
Anything.
That was a Wii and PSP game. That's what that was.
Oh, okay.
And
Interesting.
And it was weird. The islands, basically, the islands would expand every time you'd wipe out your dudes. You'd be on the same stuff, but it would just grow. It didn't work. It was not great. It was all right, but it wasn't that great.
Interesting. That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is all right. My biggest beef with the next one is Worms Revolution in 2012. There was a lot of people very anticipatory of this one.
Really excitement about that one.
2.5D art, all that stuff. My biggest beef again here is the environmental art looked like it was all generated by a bad AI.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It didn't have that handcrafted feel that the games were known for.
Visually speaking, were you as there's a creep factor that I don't like about those first Worms games, the movie intros. I can't stand them.
I don't like them either.
I understand people. I appreciate the fact that some people really love it, and it was very much a thing of its time, right? But those little 3D introductions did absolutely nothing for me back then, and they do even less for me now.
Yeah.
But they felt like it was necessary because it was kind of a unique take at the time. You didn't have a lot of, open, just set up the characters and everything, because it was kind of replacing what we had done with cover boxes and stuff. Like Atari was famous for, giving you this presentation to make you have some kind of connection to the game you're about to play by giving you this amazing art. The only problem is it was so disconnected from the actual graphics in the game that you felt like you were kind of cheated. And this is kind of the same here. Is like I guess they didn't have the confidence that you would be able to have like compassion or some type of connection with little bitty worms that were on screen. But they already proved that you could with lemmings, because lemmings, because they seem alive because of the animation. The animation brings them alive, not because they're large sprites or anything like that. So I don't think any of that was necessary, but it was something that wasn't really being done much, and I think it might have actually had an impact on games forward, or maybe it was just a parallel path that was happening at the time that everybody felt like they needed to add that little bit of story beforehand. And
you play that Worms golf game at all?
I played a Worms golf game, not at sale right now on the Steam.
Yeah, I think it's down to $1.99, 80% off right now. Yeah,
it's usually about time for me to give that a try.
It's usually only 10. It's good. I bought it back when it came out in 2011 or whatever it was. Oh yeah, there it is, 2011, and it was
11.
fun. It's a golf game, like mini golf, 2D style mini golf, and it's the same idea of like, can I arc this the right way? Is it going to go far enough? Am I going to? It's okay.
I mean, you're kind of doing that with the grenades, right? Because when you fire up the grenades, when you use the bazooka, in the game, you know, it's not too heavily impacted on a short distance by the wind, or if you fire it hard enough. But the grenades is kind of like the golf thing, because you drop it at your feet and you kick it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the animation that happens. So I can kind of see that. That's kind of cool.
Ooh, I gotta get it. Sorry, I just noticed Blasphemous 2 is on.
Yeah, Blasphemous 2 is such a great game. God, it's down to $15. Yeah, I need that. Blasphemous 1 is so good.
I love Blasphemous. It was great.
Blasphemous.
I'm gonna add it to my
baby.
cart. It's in my cart now.
Add it to your cart right now. Yeah.
This winter sale is gonna kill me. The autumn one just about killed me.
Yeah.
There is a mobile game.
It's gonna kill you like a prod to a worm.
That's right. There is a mobile game called Worms 4. Came out in 2015. It's shit. Don't play it. And then 2016 Worms WMD. That is considered to be the one to play now. So I would reiterate how important that is. Yeah.
If you have an Amiga, absolutely go grab the Worms Director's Cut, because that is, you know, Andy's final love letter to a system that is just about done in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
Well past done. It is cooked.
Oh, by the way,
cooked.
Did you notice during the Game Awards, one of the games that was announced is the new Ninja Gaiden game, and it's being made by the Blasphemous 2 people. They're making it.
Oh, I didn't know that part. I did know that was coming out. I didn't know that was Blasphemous 2 guys.
Game Kitchen, great. I think is what they're called. Yeah.
Oh, Game Kitchen, yeah.
And they've got, let me just make sure this is right. Yeah, they're the team making the next Ninja Gaiden movie, which is more.
Now I'm excited.
Oh,
I was excited.
I was stoked either way, but now I'm really stoked because these guys know their stuff. Well, there you go. That's your look at Worms. Is there more?
You didn't mention the most important Worms, the Worms Pinball.
Oh yeah, the one nobody played for sure. I don't know.
Fire up the PlayStation or your Windows PC is 1998, and you like, what else am I going to do with Worms? Well, Team17 was doing a whole bunch of these anyway. These little pinball, these video game 3D pinball games, and so they skinned one.
That's why I don't like it, because it's not a video game pinball machine. It is a realistic looking pinball machine represented in a video game, and it's a very distinct difference for me. I love video game pinball, but they need to be a little weird. They can't just be a pinball machine, and that's what this is. Yeah. So give me Pokemon pinball. Give me what's that? Xenotilt, that new one I absolutely freaking love.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. Like, give me some of those old weird pinball games. Sonic Spinball, for hell's sakes. Like, give me a pinball game that lets you be a video game and not just a physics ball game. And that's my problem with this. I didn't like this.
I would play this. I'm fine with them, but I would definitely play this at the arcade if I came across it. Because man, can you imagine all the yelling and stuff those worms do? Oh, it'd be just glorious.
Only if I can edit them to swear in the arcade. So yeah, that's a thing you can still play. That's out there. That's a deal.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think on that first Worms games, do you think they just had a couple of the yahoos who were in the studio come in and do their voices?
Oh, hell yeah.
Some real
no, this is just dudes.
Yeah.
I think it's just friends. I think it was that way for a long time. I'm not so sure the newest one isn't some of that. Like, there's British guys trying to sound American in it. It's like, come on down to Sam's tank farm, but the voices aren't sounding something's off. So it's fine. Right. It's fine. I'm not complaining. You don't need to do anything fancy there.
I'm down with it.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with
it. So if you do go back and watch, I recommend looking for the Worms documentary, because I enjoyed myself so much this past week listening to the making of the game. And there's a lot of interviews with the different players or the different content creators who are making this game. And the composer, Bjorn Lind, is just one of the most enjoyable interviews to watch. He's fantastic, and he kind of breaks down how they did the audio and what they did. Such a fun guy, though.
Yeah,
love it.
I did some music, dipped my toe into some of the music, and I found this track. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Is it this one? Let me move it up here. I'm gonna skip ahead some. Let's see. Well, you can kind of hear it, but there's like a really cool underlying tune in all the Worms music, and that's the guy you're talking about there.
Yeah, Bjorn kept it simple and on point, and it is always a pleasure to hear. And I'm kind of glad that I played the CD version more than the floppy version, even though I did enjoy the simplicity that was the single floppy disk that I actually was. It was a single floppy disk, but it must have been something special because I think it was like 3 megabyte demo or something. I don't know how they're distributing this thing, but
it's like shareware or something. Interesting. Probably shareware.
Yeah, there's a lot. Worms made it to shareware. As a matter of fact, I think that was how I first played Worms to begin with, was through shareware. I was during the late 90s. I was all about the shareware, baby.
I was almost hired by somebody who made shareware games, but I had I had a feeling it was going. I had a feeling it was going away. The internet was looming. It was like, this is going to be short-lived if it lives at all.
Yeah.
And I was right. All right.
It did, though. It shone bright in the sky.
It did for a hot second.
Like a concrete donkey.
That's right. All right, let's get to our game of our own making. This isn't very Worms-like at all, but it is a game we made called Guess My Game. We play old audio from an old game. We try to convince each other what it is without telling each other, but we get 4 options and platform and year. Chat room usually says Choplifter. That's fine. It's fine. We don't mind. Brian, here's mine. Today we have the following. Mine is where did it go? There it is. Mine is an arcade game from 1995. I stayed in the year that we're talking about here.
Smart.
Yep. So this is arcade, and here's your audio, and then we'll talk about it.
Fight 1. Ready.
Okay, as you can tell, bit of a brawler going on, right?
Fight 1.
Here are your options.
Worms fighting game.
A. Virtua Fighter 2. B. Virtua Fighter 3.
Oh.
C. Fighters Mega Mix. Or D. Tekken 3. Which of those do you think you just heard?
A, B, C, or D? Is it one of the 2 fighters, not the first one, 2 or 3? Fighters Mega Mix.
Also a Sega product.
The Fighters Mega Mix is delicious. I like that's a Christmas treat. We like to eat that around the house. Or D, Tekken.
Tekken 3 to be specific.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tekken 3. Yeah. They were Tekken 3. So I don't think this is the Virtua Fighter stuff. So I'm gonna knock out A and B, and it's gonna be between Tekken 3 and C. And I'm gonna feel embarrassed if I say Tekken 3, even though it doesn't quite sound a little too much action. Too much action for Tekken 3. I'm gonna say C, maybe.
C, maybe. Fighters Mega Mix. Let's find out if it's Fighters Mega Mix, available in arcade and at home on the Sega Saturn. Is it C? No.
Oh.
It's A, Virtua Fighter 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you know how you know? Listen to this bit right here. Let me turn this up. That guy right there. Yeah. There was a guy that when he would howl at the end. I
hear it now.
Love Virtua Fighter. The other exciting thing at the Game Awards, they announced a new one being worked on. Ooh.
Okay.
It's my favorite fighting series of all time. I love Virtua Fighter so much.
Love it.
Brian, let's get to yours. Tell me what I got here.
Good job. Way to stump me. Hey, I decided to stay on DOS, but it was a few years earlier, 1993.
93 on DOS. Let's find out.
Fight!
Round 1. Fight!
Wait for it.
Okay.
Now, about 5 more minutes of that. All right.
Your
choices,
tell me
Scott.
my choices. What do you got?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It is A, Jagged Alliance. B, Cannon Fodder. C, Scorched Earth. Or D, XCOM UFO Defense.
All right. Of these, I have played.
I didn't give you a lot to work with this week,
no,
unfortunately.
I played XCOM UFO Defense, Jagged Alliance, and Scorched Earth. Never played Cannon Fodder.
Yeah.
I know of it. 3DO game. Well, it was in a lot of places, I think, but I remember 3DO had a version of it.
So the DOS.
I lean toward. Could that be Cannon Fodder? All right. I lean Jagged Alliance, but I'm going to say Cannon Fodder because I don't know why. Just because I don't know it, and this doesn't sound familiar. So Cannon Fodder.
All right, Scott. You be right.
Yeah! Woo! Look at me.
The answer is Cannon Fodder. Another comparison that people made to Worms because of his humor. Scorched Earth was one that was, gameplay, simple gameplay inspired, especially, and also a game called Tank was two of the gameplay ones they went with. But then it had the visual look of Lemmings, and a lot of people said that it kind of had that humor of Cannon Fodder. So
nice.
There you go, Cannon Fodder, 1993, DOS.
All right, well done.
And other platforms.
Look what we've done here. Now, this. Whoops. Where'd it go? Hold on.
What?
Aliens. I'll just play that. Welcome to Retro, we say, to the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, a game at the time which was lauded for its graphical quality. People were blown away by it. This was Starbreeze Studios. They still make amazing games. And Tigan Studios, or Tigan?
I always say Tigan. It could be Tigan.
These are both Vivendi products. Anyway, these were on Xbox and Windows in 2004. We're talking original.
On the Xbox.
That's where I played it. Yep, it was very good.
Yep.
It was a prequel to the futuristic science fiction film Pitch Black with actor Vin Diesel, who was involved in the game's development and reprises his role as the protagonist, Richard B. Riddick. I forgot his name's Richard. It always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
That game was
back
awesome.
And watch
it was so cool.
Oh man, I love that first one, Pitch Black, because he doesn't even show up until like later. You always forget how late up he shows up in Pitch Black.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, who's this guy?
Yep.
Yep. Vin Diesel.
This was a Swedish company, by the way, that made this game, and you know them from Syndicate, Payday 2, Brothers. What else did they do? Let me just find their names here. Here we go. Enclave. I remember that game.
Enclave, yeah.
Chronicles of Riddick was really a big push for them, though. After that, The Darkness, Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Athena, or Dark Athena, sorry. The Syndicate remake is the one they did, the first-person shooter Syndicate. It is so good. That game is under effing rated. Real good. Mm-hmm. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, Payday 2, Overkill's Walking Dead, Payday 3, which is a little bit of in trouble right now because they didn't quite deliver what they promised, and they're working on a D&D game right now. That's all we know. So there they are.
20 years ago, they did the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay. You did it. Welcome to Retro.
Yeah.
You did good.
Good job, guys. You made it 20 years. Now make it another 20. So there's that. Nicely done. Let's do this now.
Welcome
to the treasure room. Oh shit! What's in the treasure room? Oh, I didn't paste it in here.
I was about to say it's as empty as your present for Christmas.
I don't know.
It is empty as your soul.
I don't know how I didn't put it elsewhere because I have a thing. Hold on.
Hilarious. You know what was going on is Scott was so concerned about B118 cell being empty that he forgot to put listener feedback in.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, did I find it? Here it is. Nope.
Love it.
Nope. Oh, there it is. Okay, here you go. There's no name on this, a text. If you or Brian were on a desert island and could only take one retro console with you,
right?
I assume power's not an issue and stuff like that.
Right.
Anyway, he says, which would you take? Signed anonymous. What would you say?
Right. I'm gonna say, I like my GameCube. I feel like I could carry it around. It's got a handle. So when I was, if I needed to take it with me, I just feel like I could do so much with the GameCube. It's not that heavy. So it'd be easy to transport. And you're like, well, what about the games, Brian? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting to it. I mean, I could play Luigi's Mansion for eternity. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
I could just play it all the time.
There's
so
a lot of things I like about the GameCube. It's a good pick. I think I'd go GBA. And the reason I would do that is because I would get the one with the Game Boy with the GameCube adapter. So if I met Brian up on his island, then I could plug it into his
and
GameCube.
you would see me off in the distance, and you're like, this guy carrying a cube of some sort in his hand, and is that a bandolier from a controller?
Yeah, what is that? Weird.
I guess you can see my silhouette. I would be easy to recognize just from my silhouette carrying the cube and my GameCube bandolier of controllers.
Yep, but I'd carry that SP around with me, and I would play all. I mean, I still say that one of the greatest libraries of all time is a GBA library. It's so good.
It is so good. Yeah, if you go on library, I think that's probably the way to go. But he didn't say that you get to take.
I assume you get to take. We're going to assume you take every game possible that those devices could play. Because
that's a totally different. Then give me the PS2. Jesus, I mean, I didn't know that was a.
I don't know if I'd take the PS2.
All those games. Oh my God!
You know what? I'll take. Does my PC with my 2,500 game library on Steam count? Is that a console? Because
I think we've found we've stumbled upon the what question not to ask.
By the way, quick follow up. This lime green controller I got that we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I love that thing.
Been loving it. It's wired. Yeah. I don't have to think about batteries. I don't have to worry about Bluetooth dropouts. Runs like a champ.
It looks like you could lick it. It looks like it's like a minty Jello or something. Just,
like some key lime pie.
Green mint.
Key lime pie, right there.
Get hungry every time I see that thing.
I love it. It's been great. I played Worms on that today.
Woo!
Well done. Thank you for the message. If you'd like to send one in like that, 801-471-0462.
What key is that one? Is that near the hashtag? What is that?
The little burp key. Sorry about that, everybody. 801-471-0462, or you can email us playretroshow@gmail.com. Let's do a quick retro report. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oops. There we go. Brian, what's going on the retro.gib thing? RetroGib.
Absolutely. Hey, you got a little extra free time. It's Christmas. Why not hop on and play a little Unreal Tournament 99 or Unreal Tournament 2004, both of which you can find on archive.org now. And just hop on there and play with some friends. You think Worms, you think you can frustrate some people playing some Worms. Man, wait till you get a load of Tournament 2004.
4 is awesome.
Really grief.
But the UT99 game, they encourage people to get off archive. I think 04, they are still not saying go get that.
Yep, I think you're right. So get the 99 is just as Scott prefers the 2004, but I like the simplicity of 99. Kind of like how I like Worms 1. I'm kind of favoring it right now just because of the pixel love that it's giving me.
Yeah. I love them both, and I played them both to death, but 04 just, man, that was like peak Unreal. So good.
Yeah, I don't know. We start throwing tanks in there, and I don't know.
I mean, that's the thing is you can avoid those modes if you want. You can ignore all that shit and just do,
If you were going to take one to the beach with you, though.
04.
I didn't say an island. It just said the beach.
I'd take 04. I'd take 04 to the beach.
All right, take 04 to the beach?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Or maybe even 3 if they had servers working, because I like 3. 3 just got shit on because we don't know what we're doing. We're pre-Fortnite, post-Unreal. We don't know what we do here at Epic.
Yeah.
Buttholes. I'll tell you what you do. You didn't put the right game out. Anyway, a quick note about our patrons. We have many who are very nice, kind human beings who support us here on the show. And we've got a couple of brand new folks, Adam P. and Austin McReynolds.
Yes.
Oh, I love the McReynolds. I get it every time I go.
I love the McReynolds. And I saw one of our new patrons pop into the Discord server and introduce themselves on the Play Retro channel. So I appreciate that. Anytime you get a chance to do that, so we can see who you are and point out to you and go, there they are.
Yeah.
There's the hero.
There they are. We have a great Discord community. You guys should join it. frogpants.com/Discord. Hop in.
And if you have any questions about Ambernick handhelds and stuff, and I got an Ambernick handheld sent to us for review, and I'm officially on Christmas vacation right now. So I'm going to spend this weekend. Nice. And part of my weekend is going to be looking at that Ambernick and playing with us. It's the Game Boy Advanced format that Scott would love on a deserted island.
And by advanced, he means advance. It's Game Boy Advance.
I said what I said, and I stick by what I said. you don't like how I say it, you can just.
I just like giving you
ignore it.
shit because you always call it the advanced, and I think that's funny.
That's okay because I go to advanced auto too. So I mean, or advanced auto. I can never remember.
Oh yeah, which is it?
I can't remember. I can never remember. So I just say what I want to. I just say whatever feels good to my tongue at the time.
Yeah, why not? Do what feels good to your tongue. I always say that.
Yeah. Why not?
Anyway,
life's too short.
Oh yeah,
to do
no,
anything else.
don't do anything else. Be who you are, when you want, how you want. I will say this though, if you want to keep
Did
track
we talk
of
about what we're gonna play next week. Did we already say that?
oh no, we're about to though. Guess what we're gonna play next week, everybody? We're gonna play here.
Body blow.
Not that game. We're gonna play Commander Keen. We're staying in the DOS world for one more episode, and we're going to talk about Commander Keen.
We're going to wrap up 2024 with some Commander Keen. You remember those guys, id Software?
Yeah, they made that before Doom happened and before, I guess it was before Wolfenstein, or else, they kind of worked on some
it was like one of their first games. It was a platformer. It was to ride the success of what Mario was doing, but in a id Software sort of way.
And on the PC, which nobody was doing then. So very,
no.
very cool stuff. We'll talk all about Commander Keen. I also played that on shareware and then later bought it on floppies. Maybe Usenet even. I may have gotten it on Usenet.
You probably got on Usenet. That's how they were distributed at the time. So that makes absolute sense.
And they did that all the way up through their Doom 2 demo, I think. Anyway. More on that next week when we cover and tackle Commander Keen. We tackle him to the ground and slap some sense into that bastard.
And I'll be coming in hot after my physical because I'm having physical.
Oh, geez.
In the first of the year, it's going to be great.
Yeah, turning cough, baby. Do it.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Patreon.com/playretro. No commercials ever. Pre-show content every week and monthly benefits. Go sign up today. Thanks for a great year, everybody. Let's move it on into 2025 and make it even better. That's patreon.com/playretro. Everything else is at frogpants.com/playretro. That will do it for us. For me, from Brian. Oh, Brian, do you have anything else you want to say before we go?
I'm enjoying watching the Film Sack movie Reindeer Games, and I've only got like 25 minutes left of it. So if you're not also listening to Film Sack, come on.
Yeah, I got to play that tonight, or watch that tonight. Not play it.
Yeah. Reindeer Games.
Reindeer Games. How many games do your reindeer play? We'll find out on FilmSack this week. Filmsack.com.
Thanks, Santa.
That's going to do it for us. Go play something retro. We'll see you next time.
Oh, looks like someone just got their ears caught in the audio cookie jar at frogpants.com.
So annoying.